Hey guys, today we're gonna make a little video on getting your bike ready for the new riding season. So right now, it's winter outside, it's kind of cold. Your bike's been sitting. Hopefully you did everything to winterize it. And now we're getting ready to get ready for the next riding season. So I'm gonna show you what I do. We're just gonna use my KTM 500 for example. As you can see, I've already got my skid plate off and got my oil pan here. I'm gonna go ahead and do an oil change on this because it's due for it. And it's kind of a good idea to do that after it's been sitting in the cold, because when it sits in the cold and it gets nice and all cold inside there, whenever you warm your bike up, there might be a little bit of condensation in your oil. So it might be a good thing to just go ahead and change that oil. So I've already run it and got it warm. So all that condensation's probably in there. So first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and drain all the oil out. And I went and picked up a oil change kit right here. So it comes with the perfect amount of oil, your filter and crush washer. And then we also got a little bit of an extra here. I've got my Athena ECU from Taco Moto that we're going to be putting on here today. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the oil change first, and let's get into it. And we've got it all warmed up. Got our drain pan down here. But on the 500s, you have two drain plugs. This is your main one. Go ahead and break that loose. Once that's loose, you just pop it out. And we'll get our drain plug here. You can look at the end and see if there's anything bad on your end there. Looks like you got a little bit of sludge on the edge. Nothing too terrible. And it's always gonna make a mess on the frame rail. I don't really know how to avoid that, but we'll just let that drain out. And another thing I actually forgot to do, on the other side, you can make it drain a little faster if you just pull your oil cap off. Now we got our oil cap off, we'll just set it somewhere safe, like right here, not on the ground. And just let your oil drain out. And then we can move on. And on these bikes, right next to the oil drain, right here, you've also got a little filter screen that you're gonna wanna take out and make sure you clean. Once you get that unscrewed all the way, you should just be able to pull the whole thing out. You get a little more oil come out of there. Then you can inspect your screen here, make sure there's no huge chunks or anything in it. And then just clean it out with some brake cleaner or something like that. Brake clean might eat up the O-rings. So just clean it out real good. Make sure it's good and dry and everything. Or even replace it if it's got a hole in it or something. Go ahead and replace that. Replace your O-rings and everything, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so we've got the screen cleaned out. We've got that all back in there. We're getting ready to put our drain plug in. Make sure you get a new crush washer so you don't have any leaks. There's the number right there. They make it nice and easy. And then that just goes on your drain plug. It just goes down here and it sandwiches in between there. Make sure you clean off your surface right here where all that oil's dripping and everything before you put your drain plug back in. All right, so now we go ahead and remove our oil filter. However you do it on your bike. This is how you do it on this one. And this one you might have to twist it a little bit to get it to come loose. I normally just kind of twist it over and just kind of pull that. Get a little bit of leakage out of there. No big deal. Let that drain. And I got a tip for getting these out if you can't get this out. It's a pretty genius tip here. So if you can't get these out, what I do, take a pair of needle nose, stick it in the middle like this, and then push out like that. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. All right, as you guys can see, we got our filter out. All I had to do is just take this and put it in the middle and just kind of grab it and pull it like that. And then on this bike is the scary part of you have to tip it over and fill the oil filter housing full of oil before you actually put the filter in. Because I've heard horror stories of people saying that if you don't do that, it'll dry start and your engine's done. So I'm gonna flip this thing on its side real quick. All right, the scary part's done. I flipped it over, new filter in, and everything is good to go there. I'm just gonna torque these down because they're just snug. Got everything in there, and then the last part would just be to clean all the oil off the frame. You don't want to leave that. Don't breathe too much of this in. All right, so we've got the bike on the stand now, and if you have a stand, when you're filling your oil, this would be the best thing to do, because your sight glass right here, you want that to be, your bike to be perfectly up and down for that to read correctly, because if it's over on the stand, it's gonna read too low. Or if your sight glass is on the other side, it'll read too high. So you want your bike straight up and down. That's why I recommend using a stand while you're filling your oil. And we'll go ahead and fill her up. All right, as you can see, we're all filled up. It is basically showing completely full, but that's not necessarily meaning that we have enough oil. What we need to do now is start the bike and let it run for a couple of minutes, and then let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then read the sight glass again, because there might be some cavities inside the engine that need oil that don't have them right now. And once you start it up and get the oil circulated and everything in there, then after 5 minutes, it'll show you your true reading of where you're at. So let's go ahead and do that. So as you can see here, after we run it, it did drop, and our level is still good because it's within the circle there. So oil change is complete, and it's always good to run it and check afterwards your oil level. Another really good idea would be to check your chain and sprockets. So first off, just do a visual inspection. This is basically a brand new chain and sprocket setup. So everything's nice and clean, no rust, no worn teeth or anything. Everything looks good on there. You can check your front as well if it's good and accessible. This is the factory front sprocket. So everything looks pretty good. It's just a little dirty right here, but we're not gonna worry about that. And you're also gonna check your chain slack. So on this bike, the manual says you should be able to lift it up, and it should just barely miss right here. So if we go here and lift that up, it is a little tight if we lift it up from the front. I'm not 100% sure on where it needs to be, where you're lifting it at, but it has plenty of room here, and then also the suspension is completely unloaded right now because it's up on the stand. So we'll check our manual and make sure that our chain is in spec and everything, and we'll go ahead and give it a nice clean and re-lube and get that lube freshened up on the chain as well. Another good idea, check your brake fluid. Make sure you got adequate brake fluid. You might need a light like this to see. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but when you look at it like this, you can't really see it. When you shine your light on there, you can see that it's nice and full. It's really hard to see on camera, but I can see from here it is completely full, and we've got plenty. You also check your rear, because that is just the front, and then this is your rear. So we might be able to see a little bit better. There we go. You can see in there, it's nice and full. We've got plenty of brake fluid. And then also on your brakes, check your pads. Make sure you got enough meat left on them. As you can see, we've got plenty on this. These brakes are still basically brand new. Also check the front. The front is on the back. It's a little bit harder to see this one. You might have to get up underneath here or take your caliper off. But we can see in there, we're looking like we still got plenty of meat left on those pads. You can also check your rotor here. Make sure you don't have any crazy grooves or anything. I got a little mark in it, but you cannot feel it. It does not catch the nail. So nothing crazy going on with the brakes. So we are looking pretty good. And then also, for the first of the season, make sure you check your tires, the condition of your tires. Make sure nothing's on the wear bar or anything. You can see we've got plenty of tread on these tires. They're basically brand new anyways. You see, I still haven't even scrubbed these in all the way because I've only got a few rides on them. And your rear tire as well. Make sure everything looks good. You can see our wear bars are way down in there. We've got plenty of life on these tires and we are good to go. And also, before your first ride, you're going to want to make sure that you check your tire pressures in the front and the rear. Consult your manual on what pressures you run, or if you have a preference, just run whatever feels best for you and whatever performs the best. You will also want to check your coolant level. Now, this bike does not have an overflow, so you would have to check directly here in the radiator. It's still pretty warm, so I'm not going to open mine up until it cools down. If you open it while it's hot and warm, it could come back out at you and it could burn the crap out of you. So be very careful if you don't have an overflow, and you have to check right here in your radiator. Some bikes, like my Z650 over here, they have an overflow and it'll have a little readout right here. Now, it's saying that it's low, but that's because it's on the stand. Once again, you're going to want your bike completely upright while you're reading your fluids. That's how you get your most accurate readout on everything. Right. And another big thing, don't forget to clean or replace your air filters, guys. This will really help out your engine, help out your performance, because if you got a clogged up air filter, you're not getting all the power. So you see, we got that air filter out of here. You can also make sure you clean out your air box. You see it's a little dusty in there. You can get everything clean. And make sure your engine's not sucking up any grass or dirt, whatever might be in there. So just make sure you clean or replace your air filter as well. And then some other things that you should also check just to be safe. Make sure all of your lights are working, so your headlight and all your turn signals, your brake lights and your running light for the rear. You'll also just want to check basic hand control functions. Make sure your throttle's not sticking. Make sure it still has smooth throttle play. Make sure your brakes, levers and everything are working as they should. Your rear brake is working good. Make sure your clutch lever is not binding up or anything. Make sure you can move your handlebars from lock to lock without any sort of drama or conundrum there. And yeah, so everything seems really good on here. You see we still have a nice snap on our throttle. So I'm thinking that the 500 is ready for the season. And now we're going to get to the fun part of doing mods and get our ECU installed. All right, you can hear her running. We got the ECU all installed. Our map switch here. You can almost hear a little bit of a difference when you switch it. You idle up a little bit. It idles down a little bit. It does idle higher now. Go ahead and take it on a test ride real quick, get some gas put in it. But that about wraps it up for this video. Hopefully you guys are getting out there this season. You're getting your bikes back out, and hopefully you guys have a great season. We're making some more videos, and we're seeing more of this thing this year. Thanks for watching.